A girl was behaving strangely next to her father at the clinic, avoiding eye contact and nervously shifting in her seat. At first, the staff thought it was just typical anxiety about the appointment, but when the doctor performed an ultrasound, he stared at the screen in disbelief and began to panic. The sunset atmosphere spread over Pinewood, a humble town located in Redwood County, California. Dr. Thomas Bennett checked his watch as he hurried out of the consultation room. At 52 years old, he had established himself as a respected family doctor in the residential district, and his independent clinic, which had opened just a few seasons ago, was gradually growing its clientele. "Maria," Dr. Bennett called out as he approached the reception desk. Mrs. Rodriguez forgot this. He handed a glasses case to the assistant on duty. "I'll call her right away," Maria replied, accepting the case and placing it in the drawer of the counter. As Dr. Bennett turned to head back to his office, he glanced over at the waiting room, now nearly empty as closing time approached. His attention was drawn to two people sitting in the farthest corner, a burly man in a light blue collared shirt and a young woman in a red hoodie. A flicker of recognition crossed his face. "Victor, Zrenia," Dr. Bennett called out as he approached with a genuine smile. "Victor Eagle, right? I didn't know you had an appointment today." Victor stood up and extended his hand. "Dr. Bennett, it's a pleasure to see you. We're neighbors." "Victor, please, call me Thomas outside the office." He turned his attention to the girl, who kept her gaze fixed on the floor. "And this must be Sophia. I don't think we've been formally introduced, though I've seen you around the neighborhood." Sophia barely acknowledged him with a slight gesture, without lifting her eyes. "We'll see you shortly," Dr. Bennett assured them. "I just need to finish up some paperwork." Back in his office, Dr. Bennett sat at his desk, organizing the files from his previous consultation. Shortly after, Maria Sanchez, his medical assistant, entered the room. She began systematically disinfecting the examination table and the instruments, preparing for the next patient. "Dr. Bennett," Maria said in a low voice, "there's something strange about that father and daughter waiting outside." Dr. Bennett looked up from his papers. "What do you mean?" Maria's expression tightened as she wiped down the ultrasound equipment. "While I was taking the girl's measurements, her father wouldn't let her speak, not even to say her own name. He kept answering everything for her. I had to remind him several times that I needed the answers directly from her. And the girl, Sophia, she avoids eye contact. Not even once." Dr. Bennett leaned back in his chair. "I know them, Maria. They live just 3 houses down from mine. Victor can be a little overbearing. Some parents behave like that." "I'm Mexican too, Dr. Bennett," replied Maria. "And this isn't cultural, it's something else." She paused, then shrugged. "But you know them better than I do. Maybe it's just their family dynamic." She handed him the girl's medical file, and Dr. Bennett's eyes widened as he reviewed the documented symptoms. 14 years old, showing signs of pregnancy, he murmured. Maria nodded gravely. "That's why I'm concerned." "Send them in," Dr. Bennett instructed, adjusting his lab coat and composing his expression. The door opened, and Victor guided Sophia into the room with a firm hand on her shoulder. The girl moved cautiously, her body tense, her red hoodie hanging loosely around her frame. "Thank you for seeing us, doctor," said Victor, taking a seat next to the examination table. "Of course, especially this late," Dr. Bennett replied. "So, what seems to be the problem?" Victor cleared his throat, visibly uncomfortable. "It's hard to say, but my daughter is pregnant." Although he had already seen it in the file, hearing it said so directly made Dr. Bennett's stomach tighten. He looked at Sophia, who remained silent, staring down at her clasped hands. In her lap. "I see," Dr. Bennett said carefully. "Sophia, how have you been feeling?" Before she could respond, Victor interrupted. "She's experiencing morning sickness, fatigue, and recently mentioned abdominal discomfort." Dr. Bennett kept his attention on Sophia. "Sophia, would you prefer to answer these questions yourself?" The girl gave a barely noticeable nod. "And how did this pregnancy happen?" Dr. Bennett asked, directing the question to Sophia. Once again, Victor answered. "She has a boyfriend. We don't wish to talk about him." His tone made it clear the topic was closed. "Doctor," Victor continued, leaning forward, "we need this to remain private." No one can know about this, not our neighbors, not anyone. Patient confidentiality is standard procedure, Mr. Eagle, Dr. Bennett assured him. Although he found the emphasis strange, he added, I can't discuss any patient situation with others. Good, good, Victor nodded. Dr. Bennett turned back to Sophia. I'd like to do an ultrasound to check on the baby and determine how far along you are. Would that be okay, Sophia? She nodded, still avoiding his gaze. Maria will help you onto the examination table, Dr. Bennett said as he prepared the ultrasound device. You'll need to lift your shirt just above your stomach. Maria gently guided Sophia onto the examination table. The girl winced in pain as she lay down. Does that hurt? Maria asked softly. Sophia nodded. The abdominal discomfort has been getting worse, Victor explained from where he was sitting. Dr. Bennett applied the gel to Sophia's abdomen, noticing how she flinched at the contact. He moved the transducer across her belly, watching the screen closely. What he saw made him pause. This is, he began, adjusting the equipment to improve visibility. Sophia, you appear to be approximately 28 weeks pregnant. Victor's eyes widened. That can't be right. It hasn't been that long. Dr. Bennett looked at him sharply. Have you taken her to an obstetrician before? No, Victor replied. This is our first medical appointment. Dr. Bennett continued examining the ultrasound image. It's a girl, he said, then frowned. But I'm noticing some concerning indicators. Her abdomen isn't developing according to the typical pattern for 28 weeks. This suggests what we call intrauterine growth restriction, or IUGR. What does that mean? Victor asked. It means the baby isn't developing at a normal rate, Dr. Bennett explained. This can happen due to placental issues, maternal health problems, or fetal conditions. Dr. Bennett moved the transducer again, monitoring carefully. I'm also detecting an irregular fetal heartbeat. He turned to look directly at Victor. Mr. Eagle, I strongly advise that you take Sophia to the hospital immediately. She needs specialized care that I can't provide here in my clinic. Victor's expression darkened. The hospital? Why can't you just prescribe her some medication? This requires advanced monitoring and possibly intervention, Dr. Bennett explained patiently. The hospital has the equipment and specialists needed to properly assess the baby's development. They can perform Doppler studies to evaluate blood flow to the baby and check for any underdeveloped organs. Victor seemed resistant, but Dr. Bennett continued firmly. I can give you a prescription for prenatal vitamins, calcium, and folic acid to support her nutrition, but that alone is not enough. She needs to be evaluated at the hospital. He wrote the prescription and handed it to Victor. The pharmacy next door is still open. You can fill this while Nurse Maria helps clean up Sophia. Victor looked uncertainly between the doctor and his daughter. She'll be all right, Dr. Bennett reassured him. We'll just clean off the gel and print the ultrasound images. She'll meet you at the pharmacy in a few minutes. Victor took the prescription reluctantly and left the room, glancing at Sophia one last time before closing the door. As soon as he was gone, Maria began gently wiping the gel from Sophia's abdomen. You're going to be okay, sweetheart, she said softly. Sophia's eyes suddenly filled with tears. She kicks when she hears his voice, she whispered. I hate that she responds to him. Dr. Bennett and Maria exchanged alarmed glances. The statement hung in the air, loaded with ambiguous meaning. Sophia, Dr. Bennett said gently, what do you mean by that? But Sophie had already returned to silence, her brief moment of openness gone. Dr. Bennett tried to interpret her words. Maybe she was upset about the pregnancy and projecting those feelings onto her father. Or perhaps Victor had been angry about the pregnancy and she was expressing resentment. What's happened has happened, he said softly. Your father brought you here because he's concerned about your health. Now we need to focus on making sure you and the baby are okay. That's why it's so important for you to go to the hospital right away. He handed Sophia the printed ultrasound image and she took it, her gaze fixed on the black and white picture. To her eyes, the image resembled more of an abstract pattern than anything identifiable. Through the glass panel in the door, Dr. Bennett could see Victor returning from the pharmacy. The moment had passed. Maria helped Sophia sit up and they prepared to leave. Dr. Bennett watched as Victor picked up his daughter, his hand firmly on her shoulder as they exited the clinic. After Victor and Sophia left, Maria returned to the examination room, her expression worried as she gathered the remaining ultrasound prints. 9 o'clock, she announced, checking her watch. That wraps up today, doesn't it? Dr. Bennett nodded, still unsettled by Sophia's cryptic remark. Yes, they were our last patients. Maria began shutting down the ultrasound machine, her movements efficient, but her expression thoughtful. That was unusual, don't you think? She finally asked. The girl hiding her pregnancy for 28 weeks. And what she said when her father left the room. I know, Dr. Bennett agreed, leaning against his desk. It was definitely strange. What do you think she meant? Maria pressed. About the baby kicking when she hears his voice, and she saying she hates that the baby responds to him. Dr. Bennett ran a hand through his hair. I suppose she must have hidden the pregnancy from her father until recently. That's why he only brought her in now. Maybe he got upset when he found out, and that's why she's expressing those feelings. Maria wasn't convinced. But she specifically said the baby kicks when it hears her father's voice and that she doesn't like it. Doesn't that strike you as odd? It could be teenage hormones mixed with pregnancy hormones, Dr. Bennett suggested. Though even he found the explanation lacking, mood swings and emotional intensity were common in both. Maria nodded slowly, though uncertainty still lingered in her eyes. I hope they go to the hospital like you advised. So do I, said Dr. Bennett. That baby needs proper monitoring. They finished closing up the clinic, turning off the lights, and securing the cabinets. The rest of the staff had already left, leaving just the two of them to lock up the building. They stepped out into the cool night air, the parking lot nearly empty. Have a good night, Doctor, Maria said as she headed toward her vehicle. You too, Maria. See you tomorrow. Dr. Bennett got into his sedan, started the engine, and pulled out of the parking lot. His mind kept replaying the exam, searching for clues in the father-daughter interaction. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. As he turned into his neighborhood, the streetlights cast long shadows across the quiet residential road. He slowed as he approached the Eagle residence, 3 houses down from his own. Their car was parked in the driveway. They didn't go to the hospital, he murmured to himself, a flicker of concern igniting in his chest. He continued to his house, pulled into his driveway, and shut off the engine. Sitting in the darkness of his car, he debated internally. Perhaps they hadn't understood the seriousness of the situation. The irregular heartbeat, the growth restriction. These were not minor issues, especially for a 14-year-old mother. He should just go inside, have dinner, and end his day. It wasn't his responsibility to chase after patients who ignored his medical advice. But Sophia's words echoed in his mind. She kicks when she hears his voice. I hate that she responds to him. With a sigh, Dr. Bennett got out of his car and walked back down the street to the Eagle house. The lights were on inside. A warm glow emanated from the windows. He hesitated, then firmly knocked on the front door. After a moment, the door opened and Victor was there. Surprise crossed his face before, settling into a neutral expression. Dr. Bennett. Is everything okay? I was just checking, said Dr. Bennett, trying to keep his tone casual. I noticed your car was here, and I was worried, since I had recommended taking Sophia to the hospital immediately. Victor's expression changed almost imperceptibly. Oh, yes, thanks for your concern. Sophia went to the hospital with her mother. I stayed here to finish some work. Dr. Bennett blinked, puzzled by this information. This was the first mention of Sophia's mother being involved. I see, he said carefully. That's good to know. I was concerned about the baby's condition. Yes, well, she's in good hands now, Victor said abruptly. Thanks for stopping by, Doctor. But it's getting late, and I have work to finish. Of course, Dr. Bennett nodded. Sorry to bother you. Good night, Mr. Eagle. Good night. The door closed firmly behind him, leaving Dr. Bennett standing on the porch with a growing unease in his gut. As he walked back to his house, Victor's explanation replayed in his mind. He could only hope it was truthful. Inside his kitchen, Dr. Bennett opened the refrigerator and looked inside, his appetite diminished by the persistent feeling that something was wrong with the girl. He took out the leftovers from the night before pasta with chicken and put them in the microwave. While waiting for his food to heat, Maria's concerns echoed in his mind. The way Victor had dominated the conversation, answering questions meant for Sophia. The girl's reluctance to maintain eye contact, her cryptic comment about the baby, and now Victor's claim that Sophia had gone to the hospital with her mother. The microwave beeped, but Dr. Bennett barely noticed. A realization struck him. Despite living only 3 houses away from the Eagle family for over a year, he had rarely seen Sophia or her mother outside. He knew Victor had a daughter, but their interactions had been limited to occasional greetings from the driveway or brief exchanges at neighborhood gatherings, always with Victor alone. As for his wife, he couldn't even remember the last time he had seen her. He took his plate to his home office, a compact room with a desk, a computer, and shelves filled with medical volumes. Setting his dinner aside, he opened his laptop and navigated to Facebook. This probably crosses some professional boundaries, he muttered to himself. But something isn't right. He searched for Victor Eagle and quickly found his profile. Victor's privacy settings were minimal, allowing Dr. Bennett to browse through his photos and information. He scrolled through the friends list looking for someone who might be Sophia's mother. Laura Jensen, he read aloud. The name sounded vaguely familiar, as if he had heard it long ago. Her profile picture sparked something in his memory. The woman's face bore a subtle resemblance to Sophia's, and he was almost certain he had seen her before at some point in the past. He clicked on the profile, examining the limited information visible to the public. Laura's page had few recent photos with Victor or Sophia. In fact, scrolling through her timeline, Dr. Bennett noticed a clear absence of family photos for several years. There were pictures of Laura at work functions and with friends, but none with her daughter. If they are separated, that would make sense, he mused aloud. But then, why would Victor say Sophia went to the hospital with her? Dr. Bennett was crossing professional boundaries by investigating his patient's family this way. But Sophia's well-being and potential safety outweighed his hesitation. He clicked on the messaging icon and began typing a message to Laura. Hello, Mrs. Jensen. I apologize for contacting you this way, but I am Dr. Thomas Bennett, a family physician who examined your daughter Sophia today. I just wanted to check how the hospital visit is progressing. Again, sorry for the intrusion. He paused before sending, aware that this message might upset or confuse her, but his concern for Sophia prevailed, and he sent the message. Dr. Bennett ate his dinner while periodically glancing at the screen for a response. None came. He cleared his plate, changed into more comfortable clothes, and prepared to go to bed, checking his phone one last time before retiring. As he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, his phone chimed with a notification. He quickly picked it up, seeing a message from Laura Jensen. What hospital visit? Is something wrong with Sophia? Before he could reply, his phone started ringing. A Facebook call from Laura. He sat up on the bed and answered. Hello, this is Dr. Bennett speaking. Doctor, what is happening? Laura's voice came through tense with worry. What do you mean by a hospital visit? I'm not at any hospital with Sophia. Dr. Bennett's stomach flipped. Mrs. Jensen, I examined your daughter at my clinic tonight. She was brought in by her father, Victor. She is about 28 weeks pregnant. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line. That's impossible, whispered Laura. I haven't seen Sophia in almost 3 years. Victor and I divorced 10 years ago. He has full custody, and I'm not allowed to be near her. Dr. Bennett closed his eyes. The pieces were starting to come together. Mrs. Jensen, I need to explain the situation clearly. Sophia came to my clinic with Victor tonight. She is in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy with intrauterine growth restriction, which means the fetus is not developing at a normal rate. This can happen due to placental problems, maternal health issues, or fetal conditions. He paused to breathe. I also detected an irregular fetal heartbeat. I advised them to go to the hospital immediately so specialists could perform Doppler studies and assess the baby's development. If there is underdevelopment of organs, especially the lungs and brain, there are treatments that could help before it's too late. Laura was silent for a long moment before replying. My God, she finally said, her voice breaking. My baby is only 14 years old. How could this happen? Who did this to her? Victor said she has a boyfriend, Dr. Bennett replied, though now he questioned everything. Victor had told him. I don't know what to do, said Laura. sounding overwhelmed. I want to see her right now, but I'm not allowed to be near her. The restraining order is in effect. Please, doctor, make sure she's okay. If she's not, contact the police. I don't care if Victor reports me for violating the order. We're talking about my daughter. I understand, Dr. Bennett assured her. But we have to be cautious. Sophia is in a delicate condition, and we don't want to trigger premature labor by causing her additional stress. You're right, Laura reluctantly agreed. What will you do? I will check on her again, promised Dr. Bennett, and keep you informed. For now, it's probably best that you stay where you are. After ending the call, Dr. Bennett accessed the electronic medical records from his clinic on his laptop. He retrieved the ultrasound images from Sophia's exam and studied them carefully. The images confirmed his initial assessment: restricted growth, potentially compromised, placental function, and worrying signs of decreased blood flow to the fetus. This meant less oxygen and fewer nutrients were reaching the baby, a situation that could deteriorate quickly. The clock on his nightstand showed 10:15 p.m. It was late for home visits, but the man had clearly lied to him while his daughter needed medical attention. Dr. Bennett decided this could not wait until morning. By then, Victor might be at work or come up with another excuse. Dr. Bennett quickly changed back into his street clothes and left his house. The night had grown cooler. A light fog was beginning to settle over the suburban neighborhood. The Eagles' house stood out against the night sky, its windows still illuminated. He approached the front door with determination, prepared to confront Victor about his lie and insist that Sophia receive immediate medical attention. He knocked firmly, rehearsing what he would say when Victor answered. But when the door opened, it wasn't Victor who stood in the doorway, it was Sophia. Her eyes widened slightly when she saw him. Dr. Bennett, she whispered nervously, looking over her shoulder. Sophia, he said softly, you went to the hospital. She shook her head, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her sweatshirt. Sophia, I need you to tell me the truth, Dr. Bennett said, keeping his voice low. What's going on here? Why did you hide your pregnancy for so long? Sophia opened her mouth to speak, but before she could say anything, Victor's voice boomed from inside the house. Who is Sophia? It's the delivery guy. Why are you taking so long? Fear crossed Sophia's face. Please, go away, she whispered, already closing the door. Please. Dr. Bennett put his hand on the door to stop it from closing completely. Sophia, can I help you? Let me help you. I can't, she breathed, pushing the door to close it. Dr. Bennett stayed on the porch, conflicted. Technically, he had done his duty. He had informed Victor of the risks and urged him to seek hospital care. He couldn't force them to follow his advice, but something about that house felt wrong, deeply troubling, and he couldn't just walk away. He had made a promise to Laura, and that promise still weighed on him. As he turned to leave, the front door opened again. This time Victor stood in the doorway, his expression dark with irritation. Dr. Bennett, he said tensely, why do you keep coming to my house? It's late at night. Mr. Eagle, Dr. Bennett began, struggling to maintain a professional tone. I'm concerned about Sophia's condition. You told me she went to the hospital with her mother, but I've just learned that's not true. Victor's jaw tightened. Have you been investigating me? Who I take my daughter to see is none of your business. As her doctor, her health is my business, Dr. Bennett replied. The baby's condition is serious. Delaying treatment could lead to complications or worse. Victor stared at him, about to respond, when a light came on in the neighbor's house next door. A curtain shifted. Someone was clearly watching the nighttime confrontation unfolding on the porch. Victor's behavior abruptly changed. Perhaps we should continue this conversation inside. His voice, suddenly conciliatory, suggested. No need to disturb the whole neighborhood. Dr. Bennett hesitated, then nodded. Victor stepped back, allowing him inside the house. The living room was sparsely furnished with a worn sofa, a coffee table, and a wall-mounted TV. Sophia sat on the edge of the sofa, hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on the floor. Sophia, Dr. Bennett said gently, how are you feeling? Victor interrupted before she could answer. I'm fine, just tired. Pregnant women get tired, don't they, doctor? Dr. Bennett turned to face Victor directly. Mr. Eagle, You need to understand the seriousness of the situation. The ultrasound showed intrauterine growth restriction and an irregular fetal heartbeat. These conditions require immediate medical attention, and we will get that care. Victor responded, his tone soothing but his eyes cold. First thing tomorrow morning. Why delay it? Why not tonight? Pressed Dr. Bennett. Because it's late, Victor said, pointing to the clock on the wall. Sophia needs to rest. She's exhausted. Dragging her to an emergency room where we'll wait for hours isn't what she needs right now. The baby could be in danger, argued Dr. Bennett. Every hour matters in a situation like this. Victor's expression hardened. The baby won't die overnight. Dr. Bennett took a step back at the coldness of the statement. Before he could respond, the doorbell rang. Victor's shoulders relaxed slightly. That must be the delivery driver. I ordered dinner for us. He turned to Sophia. Wait here with the doctor. I'll get the food. As Victor walked toward the door, Dr. Bennett took the opportunity to approach Sophia. Are you okay? He asked softly. Is there something you want to tell me? Sophia looked toward the door where her father was paying the delivery driver, searching for change in his pockets. Then, quickly, Sophia pulled several folded photographs from her pocket. She handed them to Dr. Bennett just as Victor was turning toward them. Dr. Bennett discreetly slipped the photos into his jacket pocket without examining them. Sophia leaned closer and whispered, More in the bedroom. I'll help you, promised Dr. Bennett, keeping his voice low. You're being very brave. Victor returned with a pizza box. What are you two talking about? Sophia was telling me she's hungry. Dr. Bennett improvised naturally, which is good. She needs proper nutrition. See? I'm a good father, said Victor, placing the pizza on the coffee table. I make sure she eats well. He turned to Dr. Bennett, his demeanor shifting from defensive to dismissive. I appreciate your concern, doctor, but it's getting late. As you said yourself, pregnant women need rest. If she doesn't sleep properly, that would also be bad for the baby, wouldn't it? Dr. Bennett acknowledged the dismissal. Yes, rest is important, he conceded. But so is medical care, and she will receive it first thing in the morning, Victor insisted. I promise. Seeing no way to press further without escalating the situation, Dr. Bennett reluctantly headed toward the door. I'll check tomorrow to see how the hospital visit went, he said, sending a clear message that he was not going to let this matter go. Of course, Victor replied, his smile not reaching his eyes. Good night, doctor. As Dr. Bennett left, he glanced back through the window and saw Victor and Sophia sitting at the table. The open pizza box was between them. Victor was talking, his gestures animated, while Sophia remained still with her eyes downcast. Once back at his home, Dr. Bennett quickly pulled the photographs from his pocket. What he saw made his blood run cold. There were 4 photos, each showing Sophia in various states of undress on what appeared to be a bed, with Victor clearly visible in the images. The photos documented the abuse in graphic detail. My God, whispered Dr. Bennett, his hands shaking with rage and disgust. He quickly placed the photos face down on his desk, unable to look at them any longer. Sophia's words from the clinic echoed in his mind with a new and horrifying context. She kicks when she hears his voice. She hates that she answers him. The truth hit him like a physical weight. Victor was not only Sophia's father, he was the father of her baby. There was no boyfriend, only a predator, and his victim living just 3 houses away. Dr. Bennett reached for his phone and dialed 911. Emergency services, came the operator's voice. What is your emergency? I need to report child abuse and endangerment, said Dr. Bennett, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. A 14-year-old girl who is 28 weeks pregnant. The father is the abuser, and both the girl and her unborn baby need immediate medical attention. As he waited for the police to arrive, Dr. Bennett's mind raced. The photos in his possession were damning evidence, but he needed to ensure they reached the proper authorities. He also needed to alert Laura about what was happening. He took photos of the printed photographs with his phone, making sure the images were clear enough to serve as evidence if the originals were lost or destroyed in some way. Then he sent them to Laura via Facebook Messenger along with a brief message explaining that he had contacted the police and that they were on their way to Victor's house. His phone rang almost immediately. It was Laura calling back. "I'm on my way right now," she said, her voice raw with emotion. "That monster, I'll kill him myself." "Laura, please let the police handle this," Dr. Bennett urged. "They're on their way. The most important thing now is to get Sophia out of that house safely and take her to a hospital." "How could this happen?" Laura sobbed. "How could he do this to his own daughter? I knew something was wrong when he fought so hard for custody, but I never imagined, never thought he could." "I'm so sorry," Dr. Bennett said, unable to find more comforting words. "But Sophia sought help tonight. She was incredibly brave, and now we can get her away from him." "I'm still coming," Laura insisted. "I need to be there for my daughter." "Of course," Dr. Bennett agreed. "Just please let the police do their job first." After hanging up, Dr. Bennett paced back and forth in his living room, looking out the window, every few minutes for signs of the police arriving. It felt like hours, though his watch told him only 20 minutes had passed since his call. Finally, he saw the flashing lights of patrol cars turning onto his street, moving slowly. Without sirens, a tactical approach to avoid alerting Victor. Dr. Bennett hurried outside. To meet them, 3 police cars parked a short distance from the Eagles' house. 6 officers emerged, and Dr. Bennett approached the one who appeared to be in charge. "Dr. Thomas Bennett," he introduced himself. "I made the call." The officer nodded. "Detective Reynolds has evidence of sexual abuse." Dr. Bennett handed over the photographs. "These were given to me by the victim less than an hour ago." She indicated there is more in the house. Detective Reynolds examined the photos, his expression hardening. "And the girl is pregnant." "Yes, 28 weeks. There are serious medical concerns for both her and the baby. She needs immediate hospital care." Another officer approached. "The house is quiet, Detective. The lights are still on inside." "All right," said Detective Reynolds, handing the photos to another officer who placed them in an evidence bag. "Dr. Bennett, please wait here. We will approach the house." The officers moved toward the Eagles' residence, positioning themselves strategically around the property. Detective Reynolds and another officer went to the front door while the others covered possible escape routes. Dr. Bennett watched as Detective Reynolds knocked firmly on the door. There was no answer. He knocked again, harder this time, announcing the police presence. Still nothing. The officers exchanged glances. Detective Reynolds spoke into his radio, and moments later, the officers at the back of the house confirmed they could see movement inside, but no one was approaching the door. After several more attempts, Detective Reynolds made a decision. "We're going in," he announced to his team. "Possible minor in danger inside." An officer brought a battering ram, positioned it against the door, and with 3 solid hits, the door frame splintered and gave way. Dr. Bennett remained at the perimeter as instructed, straining to see what was happening. The officers entered the house, their voices calling out, "Police! Pinewood Police Department." Neighbors had started coming out of their houses, drawn by the commotion. Victor's next-door neighbors, an older couple who had watched the earlier confrontation from their window, approached Dr. Bennett. "What's going on?" the woman asked, clutching her robe closed at the neck. Before Dr. Bennett could answer, screams erupted from inside the house, followed by officers running upstairs. Then came more screams, this time from outside the house. Up on the roof, someone was struggling. Dr. Bennett looked up to see Victor climbing through a lattice window onto the roof above the garage. He was pulling Sophia behind him, his grip firm on her wrist as she struggled to keep her balance on the steep slope. "Back off, cops!" Victor shouted when he saw the officers below. "I'll push her if they come closer. We're family. If I fall, we all fall together." Sophia was crying, her free hand protectively covering her pregnant belly. "Please, no," she pleaded, her voice ringing through the night air. "Please, help me." The police below immediately fell back, calling for backup over the radio. Dr. Bennett heard them requesting medical personnel and what sounded like an inflatable landing cushion. "Victor," Dr. Bennett called, stepping forward despite the officer's warning. "Don't do this. The police have the photos. They know everything." Victor's face twisted with rage. "She gave you those photos, little traitor," he spat at Sophia. "After everything I've done for you, you don't deserve to live." A car screeched to a sudden stop at the edge of the police perimeter. Laura jumped out, running toward the house before an officer could stop her. "That's my daughter," she yelled, struggling against the officer's hold. "Sophia, I'm here, baby, I'm here." Sophia's tear-streaked face turned toward her mother's voice. "Mom." The momentary distraction was enough for Victor to pull Sophia toward the roof. The officers below had managed to deploy a large inflatable safety cushion, positioning it under where they were. Victor Eagle called out to Detective Reynolds through a megaphone. "I'm Detective Reynolds with the Pinewood Police Department. Let the girl go and surrender. There's nowhere to run." Bennett could see officers positioning themselves now at the attic window, ready to catch Victor from behind. But Victor saw them behind him too, pulling Sophia closer to the edge. "I'll jump with her if I have to." Laura broke free from the officer holding her. "Please, Victor, she's our daughter. Don't hurt her." "She's mine," Victor growled. "You never deserved her. You never deserved either of them." At that moment, Dr. Bennett realized with horror that Victor was referring to both Sophia and her unborn baby as his possessions, his to control, his to destroy. The officers at the attic window began emerging onto the roof. Victor, seeing his escape route blocked and the authorities closing in, made his decision. "No," Dr. Bennett shouted, but it was too late. Victor pushed Sophia off the roof. She fell with a terrified scream, landing on the inflatable safety cushion below. The officers immediately rushed to help her while others lunged toward Victor, who tried to jump in a different direction to escape. He didn't get far. Two officers tackled him mid-jump, knocking him down on the roof surface with enough force to leave him breathless. They quickly handcuffed him and began the process of safely lowering him down, though with considerably less gentleness than they had shown Sophia. Dr. Bennett ran to where Sophia lay on the safety cushion, paramedics already checking her vital signs. "I'm her doctor," he explained, kneeling beside her. "Sophia, can you hear me?" Her eyes opened, tears running down her face. "The baby," she whispered. "Is the baby okay?" Dr. Bennett placed a gentle hand on her abdomen, searching for movement. "We're going to take you to the hospital to make sure, but I think she's going to be okay. You were very brave, Sophia, very brave." The night air filled with the flashing lights of police cars and ambulances. The officers escorted a handcuffed Victor toward a waiting patrol car, his face twisted in rage. As they passed Laura, who was anxiously watching the paramedics tending to Sophia, Victor spat in her direction. "This is your fault," he growled. "You were never a real mother to her." Laura lunged forward, her composure shattered. "Monster, what you did to our daughter, you're not human." An officer stepped between them, guiding Laura back as his colleagues pushed Victor into the police car. "He should rot in prison forever," Laura said as Dr. Bennett approached her. "I always knew something was wrong with him, but you couldn't have known this," Dr. Bennett said gently. "Predators like Victor are experts at hiding their true nature." The paramedics had stabilized Sophia on a stretcher and were preparing to load her into the ambulance. Dr. Bennett guided Laura toward them. "She needs you now," he said. "Focus on Sophia, not him." Laura nodded, wiping tears from her face as she approached the stretcher. When Sophia saw her mother, her eyes filled with fresh tears. "Mom," she whispered, reaching out a trembling hand. Laura took her daughter's hand, kissing it as tears streamed down her face. "I missed you too, baby, so much. I'm here now, and I will never leave you again." Bennett approached the lead paramedic. "I'm her doctor. I would like to accompany you to the hospital, if that's all right." The paramedic nodded. "We could use your input on her condition, doctor." As they loaded Sophia into the ambulance, Detective Reynolds approached Dr. Bennett. "Doctor, we will need to speak with you at the hospital. And with you as well, ma'am," he added to Laura. "But for now, go with your daughter. We will meet you there." Laura got into the ambulance alongside Sophia, never letting go of her daughter's hand. Dr. Bennett followed, sitting across from them as the paramedics continued monitoring Sophia's vital signs. In the ambulance, Dr. Bennett used his stethoscope to listen to the baby's heartbeat. "The heartbeat is still irregular, but it's strong," he told Sophia. "The fall doesn't seem to have caused any immediate trauma, but the hospital will perform a more thorough examination." The ambulance sped through the quiet streets of Pinewood with the siren wailing. "Dr. Bennett, watched as Laura stroked Sophia's hair, whispering words of comfort. Despite the years of separation, their bond remained a testament to the resilience of family ties in the face of monstrous interference. They arrived at the hospital where an obstetric emergency team was waiting. Dr. Bennett briefly explained the situation to the on-call doctor, Dr. Gabriela Ramirez, a specialist in high-risk pregnancies. 28 weeks with IUGR and fetal arrhythmia, she summarized as they wheeled Sophie into an exam room. Also potential trauma from a fall, although she landed on an inflatable safety mattress. Dr. Ramirez nodded. "We will take it from here, Dr. Bennett. Thank you for your swift action tonight." As the medical team began their work, Dr. Bennett joined Laura in the waiting room. Detective Reynolds arrived shortly after, accompanied by another officer and a woman who introduced herself as Sarah Parker from Child Protective Services. "We need to understand exactly what happened tonight," Detective Reynolds began. "Dr. Bennett, please start from the beginning." Dr. Bennett recounted the events of the evening, from Sophia's visit to his clinic to his growing concerns and the eventual discovery of the truth through the photographs. "Victor claimed the baby's father was a boyfriend," he explained. "But Sophia's comment at the clinic about the baby kicking when it heard his voice takes on a horrifying meaning now." Detective Reynolds nodded solemnly. "We found a hidden room in the basement, just as you suspected from what Sophia told you. It appears to be where much of the abuse occurred. There were cameras, recording equipment, and other items." Laura covered her mouth, stifling a sob. "The room contained hundreds of photographs of Sophia," the detective continued, "some dating back several years. This has been going on for a long time." "How could this happen?" Laura asked, her voice breaking. "How could no one have noticed?" "Predators like Victor are skilled at isolation and manipulation," explained Mrs. Parker from Child Protective Services. "They gradually cut their victims' ties to support systems, friends, family, even school. We'll have a clearer picture once Sophia is able to give her statement." Detective Reynolds turned to Laura. "Mrs. Jensen, we need to understand how Victor obtained custody of Sophia. Could you help us build a stronger case against him?" Laura wiped her eyes, her expression anguished. "I'm not proud of what happened after Victor and I divorced 10 years ago. I was a single mother working nights at a casino. We were struggling financially." She took a steadying breath. "Before I continue, I started attending underground poker games, thinking I could stretch my paychecks and give Sophia a better life. But it quickly became an addiction. One night the house was raided, and that's when the police discovered I had left Sophia, who was only 7 years old at the time, home alone." Tears streamed down her face. Victor took advantage of the situation. He presented himself as the stable and responsible father. The court gave him custody, and I was only allowed supervised visits. Then he moved to Pinewood and obtained a restraining order, claiming I was unstable and a bad influence on Sophia. "She systematically isolated her," Mrs. Parker nodded. "It's a common tactic. I've spent the last 3 years rebuilding my life and moving to this neighborhood," Laura said. "I now have a steady job and an apartment with a second bedroom ready for Sophia. I've been saving every penny I could to fight for custody again, but Victor blocked every attempt I made to contact her." Dr. Ramirez came out of the exam room before anyone could respond. Everyone turned to her expectantly. "Sophia is stable," she reported. "The baby's heartbeat is still irregular, but we've started medication to help with that. We've also begun steroid injections to accelerate fetal lung maturation, which is crucial in cases of IUGR. She is severely malnourished and shows signs of long-term stress and trauma, but physically she should recover." "And the baby?" Laura asked, her voice trembling. "We're monitoring the situation closely," Dr. Ramirez said. "The next 48 hours will be critical. The fall doesn't appear to have caused any placental abruption, which is good news. But the pre-existing conditions, growth restriction, and irregular heartbeat remain concerning." "Can we see her?" Dr. Ramirez nodded. "She's asking for her mother, and for you too, Dr. Bennett. She says, you saved her life." The hospital room was dimly lit, the constant beeping of monitors creating a rhythmic background. Sophia lay propped up on pillows with an IV in her arm and fetal monitors strapped across her swollen abdomen. Despite everything she had endured, there was something different about her now, a glow in her eyes that hadn't been there before. The weight of her secret had been lifted. Laura approached her daughter's bed, her steps hesitant, as if afraid Sophia might disappear. "Sophia," she whispered, gently taking her daughter's hand, "my brave and beautiful girl." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "Mom," she said, her voice stronger than before. "You came back for me." "I never stopped trying to come back," Laura assured her, carefully sitting on the edge of the bed. "Your father made it impossible, but that's over now. He will never hurt you again." Dr. Bennett stood respectfully at the foot of the bed, giving mother and daughter space for their reunion. Detective Reynolds and Mrs. Parker from Child Protective Services waited nearby by the door, understanding the delicacy of the moment. After a few minutes, Sophia looked at Dr. Bennett. "Thank you," she said simply, "for believing me, for helping us." "You are the brave one, Sophia," Dr. Bennett replied. "You found the courage to ask for help, and that's what saved you and your baby." Detective Reynolds stepped forward. "Sophia, I know this is difficult, but we need to ask you some questions to help build our case against your father. That would be okay." Sophia looked at her mother, who gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. "It's your choice, honey. Whatever you decide, I'm here with you." Sophia nodded slowly. "I want to tell the truth, the whole truth." "Take your time," Mrs. Parker said gently. "And if you need to stop at any point, just say so." Sophia took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice growing stronger as she went on. "There was never any boyfriend." She confirmed what they had already suspected. "My father is also the father of my baby." She described how Victor had begun abusing her shortly after gaining full custody, how he systematically isolated her from the outside world. "He pulled me out of school, saying he would homeschool me, but there were never any real lessons, just enough so I could answer basic questions if anyone asked." The abuse had escalated over the years. "When someone came to the house, he would lock me in the basement. There's a hidden room there that he built. That's where most of it happened." Dr. Bennett thought about the evidence the police had found in that basement room and felt a wave of nausea. "When I got pregnant," Sophia continued, "he was angry at first. He talked about forcing me to have an abortion, but then he changed his mind. He became protective of the baby. He said it was ours." She shuddered at the memory. "The baby started kicking a few months ago. I noticed it would kick every time it heard his voice. It made me sick. I hated that she answered him." Sophia placed a protective hand over her belly. "But it's not her fault. She's innocent in all of this." "Of course she is," Laura assured her. "I started feeling very sick about 2 weeks ago," Sophia explained. "Severe stomach pains and dizziness. At first, he ignored it, but when I could barely get out of bed, he finally decided to take me to a doctor. That's when we went to Dr. Bennett's clinic." Detective Reynolds nodded, taking notes. "The photos you gave to Dr. Bennett, how did you manage to get them?" "My father took pictures all the time," she said softly. "He kept them in a box in his closet. I stole some while he was showering tonight before we went to the clinic, knowing he would be out of the house taking us there. He hadn't let me leave in a long time. I didn't know what to do with the photos, who to trust. But when Dr. Bennett came to our house, I thought maybe he could help." "You did exactly the right thing," Dr. Bennett assured her. Dr. Ramirez returned to check on Sophia and evaluate the fetal monitoring strips. "The medication seems to be helping with the irregular heartbeats," she reported. "And your own vital signs are stabilizing, Sophia. That's excellent news. What happens now?" Sophia looking between the adults in the room. Ms. Parker stepped forward. "You will stay in the hospital until you are medically cleared to leave. After that, we will need to determine the best living situation for you and your baby." "She will come home with me," Laura said firmly. "I've been preparing for this for years. I have a room ready for her, savings for her care, everything." Ms. Parker nodded. "Given the circumstances, that seems like the most appropriate placement. We will need to conduct a home assessment, but as long as everything is in order, I don't foresee any problems with Sophia being placed in your care." "And what about my father?" "He's in custody," Detective Reynolds assured her. "Given the evidence we have already gathered, the photographs, the hidden room, your testimony, he will face multiple felony charges: child abuse, sexual assault, incest, endangering a minor, and more. He won't be out of prison for a very, very long time. Sophia felt a mixture of emotions cross her face: relief, sadness, and something like closure. What about the baby? Turning to Dr. Ramirez. Will it be okay? We are doing everything we can, Dr. Ramirez promised. The next few weeks will be critical. We will continue the steroid injections to help develop the lungs. We will closely monitor the heart and focus on improving your nutrition to give the baby the best possible chance. I want to keep it, Sophia said quietly, surprising everyone in the room. I know I'm young, but she's not responsible for how she came into this world. I don't want her to suffer because of what he did. Laura squeezed her daughter's hand. We will raise her. Together, she promised. You, me, and your daughter will always be loved and protected. As the night deepened, Detective Reynolds and Ms. Parker left, promising to return the next day. Dr. Ramirez completed her examination and went to see other patients. Laura settled into the chair beside Sophia's bed, unwilling to leave her daughter's side for a moment. Dr. Bennett was also preparing to leave, his professional duties fulfilled, but his heart still heavy from the weight of all he had witnessed. Dr. Bennett, Sophia called as he reached the door. Thank you for listening, for seeing that something was wrong. He turned to her, impressed by the resilience in her young face. I'm glad I could help. You did more than help, Laura said. You saved them both when everyone else looked the other way. As Dr. Bennett drove home in the early hours of the morning, the quiet, empty streets of Pinewood gave him time to reflect on the night's events. His decision to follow his instincts, to cross professional boundaries when a child's well-being was at stake, had made all the difference. The neighborhood was silent when he returned. The Eagle House now a crime scene. Yellow police tape marking its boundaries. The neighbors would wake to a changed street, a community forced to face the horror that had existed among them, unnoticed for years. Dr. Bennett entered his home, exhausted but at peace with the decisions he had made. In the medical profession, the mandate was clear: first, do no harm. But sometimes doing good required more than simply avoiding harm. It required action, courage, and the willingness to see what others overlooked. As he finally lay down to rest, Dr. Bennett thought of Sophia and her daughter, both victims of unspeakable cruelty, both now with the chance for a new beginning. Their path to healing would be long and difficult, but they would not walk it alone. Sometimes, he reflected as sleep finally claimed him, the most important diagnosis was the one beyond the medical symptoms, the one that recognized the human suffering beneath the surface, the silent, restless cries for help that came in the form of averted eyes, cryptic words, and brave acts of desperate trust. In the end, it was not just medical knowledge that saved lives, it was compassion, care, and the courage to act when others looked away. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to watch more stories. Have a great day.